Hey everyone, welcome back to On This Day in Canadian Military History. I just decided today to do an AMA. As I said in the post and on Twitter, I wanted to do more AMAs this year for 2023. I did 40 something? I can't remember exactly. Last year, the vast majority with guests, and a few AMAs. I want to try and do more AMAs if I can. I just like hanging out with you guys. What? Stalin died? Sorry, I got confused. Lorelai just said Stalin died. What? Sorry. Yeah, so I just wanted to do more AMAs, kind of hang out with you guys and answer some questions, hang out, talk about anything you guys want me to. Yeah. Not much going on my end. Doing a live stream on Tuesday with their Finest Hour project out of the University of Oxford in Britain. They're doing a online collection of stories, artifacts, I assume just photographs, things of that nature. We'll find out. We'll have them on at noon Eastern time. That's 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So I'm excited to have that on, kind of help them spread the word. And I, of course, obviously, I love digital initiatives. So that was something I wanted to do. But yeah, so that's a cool one that's coming up. Working on some other videos as well. Anytime you guys want to post your questions or anything you want me to talk about, fire away. I don't have anything because I just kind of impromptu came up with this. So yeah, so the floor is all yours for everyone. Anyway, so also working on a video about my top 10 Canadian events, I guess is what I want to call it, in the Second World War, World War II. Somebody else made a video. It was kind of not great. I did a response to that one. Some of the choices were just odd. I think they're kind of clickbaity. So I'm trying to do an actual list with an actual criteria, which they did not do. They didn't have a criteria, so I think that's pretty important. Yeah, so there's that. So that's working on that. I'm working on a video on Operation Market Garden, actually. A lot of my patrons and YouTube channel members know about that one already. That's going to be a big video. It's going to take some time, probably towards the end of the month. Hoping to get some on-site shots because I am going to Nijmegen, Arnhem, all that area second last week in March. So hopefully I can get that parceled in and fit in there. And maybe I'll talk about some other stuff after. But I also have kind of big plans. I want to do something for the anniversary of the landings in Sicily, the beginning of Operation Husky. I want to do something pretty big with that. And that's something I might need some help with. So depending on how this all goes, I might just speak to that in a bit. Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry, I see OTD and I just assume it's me. I've been doing OTD for a while now, so I just assume that means Brad as well. Yeah, Stalin died this time. Yes, he did in 1953, causing all kinds of calamity in the Soviet Union for a short period, and a hilarious movie. Oh, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. And yeah, having you guys come out is awesome. Okay, Canadian point of view, struggling with RCAF crew members. Oh, service numbers. There might be a database. I have to dig a little bit on that. So if you want to send me a message somewhere and remind me, I can do some digging because I still have to do some work later today. I think there is. I don't know off the top of my head. I've looked for something like that and never really found anything. That'd be awesome to have. I think there's something out there, but I'm not entirely sure. Because it's hard to get sometimes information on those who didn't die in the war. Like the service records, I think they're all now digitized of those who died in the war, right? Theirs are now publicly accessible now, pretty sure. Library and Archives Canada made a big deal about it. So I think they're all available. But those who survived the war, I'm not too sure because they're getting even stingier with privacy and things like that. So that's part of it. So I'm not sure, but I can take a look. Actually, I'll just write it down. What was like coming out of these live stream chats with tests to do? I think I've heard somebody say something about it, so I'll have to dig and check some of my usual spots. But yeah. No, Andreas, I saw this, though. I didn't have time because I was doing something else just before coming on here. I should watch it, though. Eagle's Nest is an interesting site for all kinds of reasons, obviously. with all kinds of stuff going on there, obviously during the war and after. Should be an interesting one to look at. Yeah, sorry, just from the Great Dominion here. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking. Is one maybe live show per month, just me, and kind of have a schedule ahead of time, get that out, and so people will know it's coming. I've been trying to do that. It's just this. Like I've said, I don't want to keep sounding like a sad broken record or anything. It's just the first 2 months of 2023, I've been scrambling to keep up. Took on probably too much, as I'm sure others have done in the past. I've taken on a lot just to try and, quite honestly, just pay some bills. So it's been hard to get a regular schedule, especially with anything OTD related. I'm kind of doing these things last minute and trying to keep everything going. It's been difficult this month, so hopefully I get a little clarity in the next week or two. Still waiting on that. I think I mentioned that at the end of the last live stream with Greg on 429 Squadron, which was a great show. If you missed it, you should definitely check it out. And I can link it down below for after. But yeah, so I'm just trying to wait and see because I'm kind of at the mercy of some other people, so there's not much I can do. But depending on how those things shake out and some contracts end, I can set a schedule, and hopefully March is going to be just as busy, and I'm gone, like I said, in the third week. So hopefully April we can kind of get something going, maybe set like a mid-month-ish, pick like the third, whatever, Thursday or Tuesday or whatever, and just kind of hang out. That would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, Mark, yeah, I've seen the same thing. It's just it's so difficult to get the things that anyone who survived, right? Because again, the privacy stuff is getting worse even since I've started doing this years ago. Like I can get things and it was fine. Now they're really it's getting worse. You can't access certain things. Or they'll just put you in that, what do they call it, the restricted room, where you can't take any photos. You can look at it, but you can't take anything out. Excuse me. So that's kind of made things more difficult, and I think they're only going to get more stingy with privacy things, especially those who have just recently passed. Like those records are basically inaccessible now. You have to get them while they're still alive. It's a bit of a weird system, but yeah, unfortunate. Yeah, I mean they do, but it's not very detailed, and of course, obviously, so many have already passed. It's hard to get those information, but yeah, it's important. To do what am I currently reading? Oh, that's a good question, Lorelai. You think I should be reading more than I am? Right now, what am I actually reading? I was reading yesterday. I'm not reading the whole thing just because I'm scrambling. But I have it right here. There we go. I was reading this a good chunk of yesterday because I was working on the project that I mentioned on Twitter, and I think here as well. The William Barker book by Wayne Ralph. I always want to get them backwards. I don't know why. Ralph. I always want to say Ralph Wayne. I don't know why. Sometimes my brain gets things backwards. So that I was reading a good chunk of yesterday because I've been working on a William Barker project since December with the RCAF Foundation. Great organization. Love working with them. Love doing the Air Force stuff. Like I've said multiple times in different formats. My first love was Air Force. Like planes, love planes. Like I first came to Ottawa when I was 9. And we went to the War Museum and they had us before on the floor, which was awesome. Like that's really all I really remember because I was just so excited. Yeah, that's great. So that was kind of my first love. So I've been reading that. Just got it a couple of days ago. So I've been kind of flipping through that and adding it to my own kind of. It's called the Google Arts and Culture story. I already did one on one of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan bases. It's available through RCF Foundation. I can post it. I already put that one together. So I'm putting one together on Barker because we want to get stuff rolling for the centenary that's coming. So I've been focusing on. Got a lot of William Barker on the brain and all his great story and everything. So that's what I've been reading because I got it a couple days ago. Basically had my nose in that ever since, trying to get that story out, and it should be out soonish, a couple of weeks, I think, maybe a bit longer. It takes some time to get the whole editing process finished up and all their back end stuff. But that's what I've been reading so far, particularly the last 2 chapters, because I want to focus on a little bit of looking at his legacy and why he kind of got forgotten and some of the other stuff, because it's a complicated story. I mean, he's technically the first president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he worked in tobacco farming, which he hated, and then he got back into aviation, only to be killed pretty much right after. So it's a sad but fascinating story. And so I've been just noses in that book for the last 3 days. That's basically all I did yesterday. Yes. Yes, that's all available because that was done in batch. So what they did is I forget what year that was. I was an undergrad, so it was a while back. And I don't know if they're going to do this for the Second World War. Well, they all have now because the ones who passed are all available. Oh, I just lost my light for some reason. Something might look a little dark. It just died on me. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Oh, it's unplugging itself. Weird. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was all like batch released way back when. I think it was 2009-ish. Anyway, I don't remember. So that was all available, and then they were slowly digitizing it all to have it done for the end of the centenary, which is what they did do. And that's available. Will they be doing that for the Second World War? I don't know. I know the ones that passed are all available. I used one the other day. But yeah, they do have that available, and it's great to use. I use it all the time. Like when I do those memorial posts for the OTD, literally the on this day posts, that's what I use, especially now because it's all available now. It's great. Yeah, we all do take on too much. And yeah, you've been struggling with that shingles, which sounds awful, Lorelai. So sorry that happened to you. But it's, again, a good advocacy for people to get that vaccine, and unexpectedly as well. I know someone who got it very young, and it sucks. They had a very much difficult time with it. So it's something that I'll keep in mind. It's great. So yeah. Oh, and S. Harrison, I'm not sure I know your first name, and I don't want to guess. But thanks for becoming a YouTube channel member on the last live stream. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the help. And it's going a long way to help keeping everything going. So thank you for doing so. Lorelai. I should probably know this, but yes, I do live in Ottawa. Yeah, I've been here for a good number of years now. I'm originally London, Ontario, born and bred. I moved here for my PhD and haven't left, and I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So that's where I live. That's why I can go to the archive so often. That's why I do what I do, because I can. And I'm very lucky in that sense. Not a lot of people do what I do with the archive stuff. It's not unlimited access, but it's a lot easier than most people, particularly who live nowhere near Ontario. It's so difficult to get here. Costs are astronomical. So I'm very lucky. It's a 10-minute drive for me to most of the major archives in the city. So very, very lucky. So yes, I do live in Ottawa, and I do like living here other than the winter, but take what you can get, right? Yeah, that's one of the ones I've always wanted to visit as well. I haven't done the major British cemeteries, because I've been to Britain numerous times. It's been for work, for research purposes, and days are filled, right? Because I don't know what the case is now with COVID, but at Q they were open 6 days a week. So I would go as much as possible. Oh, sorry, they're not open 6 days a week, but they're open Saturdays, so I could go somewhere else on, like, say, Monday, and then Sundays we're usually just trying to figure something out. So I never got really out of the city much, but I do want to go see those and the Air Force Memorial and all of those. Maybe I can do a combo trip at some point in the future. Hit those and then hit Normandy or something. That's always been something I've wanted to do, but I just have never had the chance. Hugh Holiday. No, I've never met him directly. I think he was at the archive one day I was there, but I didn't really have time to talk to him. When I get in the archive, usually I'm going like crazy and don't have time to think. Just getting as much done as I can in the 7 hours that they're now open on weekdays only. So I just go like a madman. So it's someone I've never met, but lots to talk to. I don't really know how to get a hold of them, but maybe I could try. But I am working for the RCAF right now in one capacity, and then the RCAF Foundation. So I've got all of these connected RCAF stuff. So yeah, lots going on there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I have it like plugged into like a different adapter and it just died. I can't reach it because it's too far, even with my long, I'm very tall, like orangutan like arms, even I can't reach it. But it's still like flashing or something. I don't know what happens. It just died. Maybe it just died. I didn't pay very much for it. So maybe it's just dead. That's always a possibility. I bought it about a year ago now, and I'm surprised it's lasted this long for not much. Oh, Sean. Hey, Sean. Thanks for becoming a YouTube channel member. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the help. Yes, younger folks get the shingles and they suck. Again, the person I know just, really struggled with it. So it's not pleasant. So if you are susceptible to it, there's a few risk factors involved. Talk to your doctor. And not my kind of doctor, a real doctor, medical doctor. I am a real doctor. Good question, Chris. What am I most looking forward to or seeing or doing in Europe this spring? So I'm going twice. We're doing a recce reconnaissance for the Americans of the sites. I think I'm just doing the market garden and / Nijmegen salient, which are the same in a lot of ways. Parts of the recce, I have to check my itinerary. I forget. So we'll do that for the first trip. So I think I'm going to Arnhem. I've never been into any of these places. So I'm looking forward to seeing Nijmegen. I know it's changed a lot since the war and all of that, but I still want to see it. I want to see the rivers and the bridges because I've just done so much with the salient, right? Like I started off doing it with Project 44 a couple of years ago now and covering all that with the mapping and the war diaries, which I check constantly and answering questions about it and doing other things. And it's one area I really want to see. And of course, Arnhem looms so large in the history of the war, Second World War, right? So it's just everywhere, and you hear about it. I just want to see the rivers and the bridges, and I like getting that conceptualized in my own brain. Like you can look at maps and pictures and everything, but it's not quite the same. If those of us who have been lucky to go to these battlefields like Normandy, I had a perception in my mind's eye from when I was younger and had been reading about this since whatever it was, 10, 11 years old, and it didn't quite fit, right? You don't really get a sense of these things until you're on the ground. And I think that's hugely important. Like you make a perception in your mind of what you think it looks like, and then you get there and it's sometimes different, or it's bigger or smaller or what have you. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to is gaining that perspective and seeing these places with my own eyes and getting to check out these places that I've read about, I don't know how many times, right? Like I start off the top. Talking about working on a video on Market Garden, right? So seeing Arnhem and all of those places is going to be pretty cool. And just overall getting back to the European battlefields. It's been years. I've been since 2016, so it's exciting to get back. New ones, but it's good just to be back, and having those connections and going to those cemeteries again that I do constantly reference and work with. Just haven't seen them, and paying the respects is always a huge part of what I do. So that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, that's a really good question, Chris. I hadn't really thought about that myself, so thank you for that. Does the Canadian military have an official history branch or branches? Yes, we do. It's under the Department of National Defense. It's called the Directorate of History and Heritage for all of Department of National Defense. There are separate parts of that, right? But after the unification of those branches in 1968, they all come together and work together. That's where the one archive is. They have their own archive separate from Library and Archives Canada. They don't hold as much because a lot of it's been transferred over to archives in Canada, Library or LAC or LAC. A lot of it's been transferred there. So I have done quite a bit of research at DHH, as it's called. So they have their own thing. That's what I technically work for. I work for the Air Force part of DHH out of Therrien, which is cool for now, for the rest of this month, as far as I know. So that's one of the things I'm waiting to find out how that goes. But so there's official branches. It's underfunded because it's always been underfunded. It's been underfunded since it was created back in the First World War. It's just there's so much to be done and so many official things that they're supposed to do and all that, and they can't do it all, and they don't have enough people, and it's a whole thing. But they do exist, just not as big as they used to be. They used to be their own thing. Now they're not really. They're under somebody else, as far as I understand it. Oh, Keith is here. Did somebody say Enigma 3 times? I don't think Diep was mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have his contact info, so if I can find it or somebody has it, you can tell me. That'd be great. Because I want to start organizing some stuff for the spring for guests, so we'll see what we can do. Maybe an Air Force Week would be awesome. Yeah, that would be great. I don't know him personally. And yes, thank you, Laura. That is something I just want to say because I don't want to be like preachy, but this always holds true. The like buttons and the comments and everything, like it helps the algorithm. So if you have a channel you really like and you want them to do better and kind of spread it around and help out that creator, not necessarily just me, even though I would appreciate it. That's how YouTube works. It's interaction. It's all about the stats. It's all about people interacting with it. It's about you liking it, leaving a comment, watching the whole video several times. Wink, wink. Don't wink, wink. You don't have to listen to it, but you can just loop it a little bit, and that just because that helps the stats. Because that person, the system thinks that person's really, really likes it and is watching it again, so it's gonna, recommend it to more people. Like the same with World War II TV. Leaving the comments after the fact is what really helps gets those shows pumped out for Woody. The sidebar is amazing, and I've learned so much. And you guys this is where we make our connections, right? This is where we become a community. Is the sidebar. But to grow our community and get more awesome people involved, you got to do the comments down here when the live streams are done. Like that's just how the game works. Usually for my lunchtime break, I watch like YouTube education videos and stuff like that. Usually like 8 minutes of like a topic about how to grow on YouTube or how to make a good thumbnail and things like that. So that's something I've become increasingly interested in because I really do want OTD here to grow because I do think it is the best way forward for OTD. For a long-term success, if it can have long-term success, I think it's through YouTube. So that's what I've been trying to do, is grow here. And that's what I think it needs to happen is on here. The other social media platforms have their own pitfalls aside from whoever owns them. Again, wink, wink. But you know what I mean? Like I think this is the place. So this is what I'm trying to do. But again, that doesn't just fit for me. That's anybody you want on here that you like. If they're small and you want them to stick around, you got to let them know. You got to put the comments down. You got to let the video play, watch the video, watch the whole thing. That's important. Letting it just click once and then leaving after 5 seconds is much worse because the system thinks you hated it and you don't ever want to see it again. That's how this is all done. And this is straight up from YouTube. So that's kind of my YouTube insight for the day. Yeah. And Scott, I don't know what that means. Sorry, Scott was on World War II TV last week. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. But I do want to post yours because it was great. You did an amazing job because you've been on the channel before just talking about random things and did a great job. That topic, I knew nothing. Like I literally knew nothing. And you just blew my mind with that story. The story is freaking amazing. And I don't want to give it away. I don't want you to go watch it. I know a good chunk of you have already seen it, but anybody else who just stumbles on this later, my random hangout question rambling. Scott did a great job on World War II TV with Woody. Go watch it when we're done here if you haven't seen it. It was awesome. The detail, the layers, the people. And I can't pronounce the guy's name because I'm terrible with those names. But Scott did an amazing job. So go watch that. Buying you lunch, maybe like half a lunch. Yeah, trying to pay my bills, O'Keefe, which I have a lot of, because everyone always does, right? Life, being an adult's fun, right? Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Getting as many, I'm at 8 now, YouTube channel members, so hitting double digits would be awesome. Yeah. Chicken pox, you have shingles and infection in your body. Oh yeah, that's right. Shingle pox. Oh, love talking about our shingles. Yeah, I think it's chicken pox in your body helps fight it. Overloon. Again, I don't know. Hold on. Get some more. I don't know how these streamers do without water. It's crazy to me. I just talking for hours and don't need water. I think I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe in the second trip. I can't remember. I'll have to check the itinerary. Well, if Dave's here, he'll know. It's his tour. like getting the scale or the lack of scale. Right, like when I went to Eep or Yper, like the amount of space that all of those divisions were crammed in for that long is just mind-boggling. Like the amount of divisions that were crammed into the Passchendaele battlefield and what that turned into is just like today. It's nothing. You drive it in like what, an hour. You can drive that whole loop and you're done. You can do it all if you're just driving, right? It's crazy to get that sense. Or then the bigger ones, like the push south through Normandy, right? Like the beaches and everything, and everyone thinks bocage and all that stuff, which is not the entirety of the landings and push inland. Like looking at the totalized battlefield just blew my mind. And then moving further south, where Tractable takes place, and then where the Poles fight at the Mace, and then Saint Lambert-sur-Dive, like the space, the size, the openness, which is what not a lot of people think about when it comes to Normandy. It's crazy to get the sense of these things, and standing on those hills and watching, or just taking it in, like the vista at the Mace or at the museum there, and being like, imagine the Seventh Army and elements of the Fifth coming through here and just getting absolutely pummeled. It's just still blows my mind, no matter how long I do this and all of that. It's great to do. Yeah, I mean, seeing it is great. That's why I try to, it's even hard to capture on video, especially with the growth of YouTube, right? In the last, whatever it is, 10 years. It's good, but you can only see it really when you're there. Yeah, and time spent on recce is never wasted, especially when you're going with a former general in the Canadian Army. Well, that's a good way of thinking about it. Or like how other people, deal with this thing. I mean, there's inoculations, things like that. They might have been medically taken out because they didn't get sick, right? There's always been armies always get sick, and sometimes even in the world wars, right? They had to just take them out of the line, and some of them never fought again. Obviously, modern medicine wasn't not there, but it caused numerous problems for armies. Yes, they did do this because I still have it. It's the box set, the DVD box set from when it first came out. I don't even know how long ago now. Like I got it in 2000 something, 6, 5, maybe 4. I don't remember. Anyway, so it has all the extras, and that was one of them. Who played the actor played Nixon. What's his name? Ron something. Ron Livingston. He they were like, here, you film it. Or he did it himself. I can't remember. Anyway, so he had a little camcorder back in the day filming that, and it's pretty cool. They did a little bit of things for authenticity. They made them do drills, and they made them all speak in American accents, right? Because not all of them were. And from the 1940s, no slang, none of that stuff. I remember that quite clearly. So they brought in Americans who served in the military, or I guess former drill instructors or what have you, to yell at them for not talking like it's the 1940s with an American accent, because a lot of them are British, right? A lot of Brit actors in that series. So yeah, that was really cool. I thought that was really cool, especially when I was younger, doing all that stuff and the things they trained them in. And yeah, they did sleep in the field for a couple of nights. I do remember they shoved them in a bunch of buildings on some old course somewhere in the UK. It's really cool to watch that. Yeah, that was a nasty one. Sorry, I was gonna try to. Yeah, that was a nasty one, particularly even in the First World War. I've read, I don't know how many files about how soldiers developed the pulmonary tuberculosis or other conditions that they didn't really understand. I learned about a ton of kidney conditions that killed people, particularly when it came to conscription, because they're bringing in people they shouldn't have been bringing in, and they're getting in Canada anyway at the end of the war. Happened in other countries as well, but I know these because I know the records and studied it closely. and they would just die or we get really sick, especially in the flu influenza outbreak. I stopped myself from saying Spanish flu because it's not Spanish flu and shouldn't call it that. But it would just weaken the immune system, right? And then these other conditions that they may have had previously or developed or whatever would kill them and be the cause of their death. Yeah, so it's heartbreaking to read, and particularly when it comes to the end of the war and these guys are dying and the war's over and all of that stuff. It's its own thing. Oh, that's good to hear, O'Keefe. Yeah, I don't know him at all. I've never met him. Like, there's some big heavy hitters I've never met. I guess because I'm still fairly newish, because you just said 29 years at this whole thing. So there's some people I just haven't met. Oh, bye, Rob. Going to Dunkirk, apparently. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't watch it yet, though. The whole World War II museum did a whole shebang about that. Yeah, so this. I've been thinking about it. I was going to do one with like the YouTube channel members and the patrons. Sorry. I had to push it back because I had to work. Again, just my schedule is just crazy. So I had to push it back because I was going to do it on a weekend because I was trying to get everybody the best shot, right? Because I've got lots of people in the UK, people on the West Coast here. So I'm trying to do my best weekend, kind of afternoonish for our time zone, Eastern time zone. So it's hard to kind of organize that. So that is something I would love to do. Again, I still have some questions up in the air, but that is something I will keep in mind because I'd like to do smaller ones just because I want, even the patrons, and smaller group discussions are better, I find, in that sense, to get everybody involved. But yes, the We Have Wave one, I have been to a few of them. They're pretty awesome. Lots of discussions and people you wouldn't expect to show up, and that's awesome, and sharing knowledge and getting different insights even if you disagree, and it's a great place to learn in a different way, and I think that's great. But yeah, this is something I am like racking my brain to do. Great Dominion mentioned it earlier about doing like a consistent live stream schedule, or like scheduling it in advance kind of thing, which I do want to do. So yeah, that's something else I'll keep in mind, because like the live stream would just be like this, but a Zoom we could all can interact in video and all that fun stuff, especially with this technology becoming so much easier. Except for when my light burns out, I can't do anything about it. Yeah, Rob is correct. I know we're just bouncing all over the place, but I see the messages come in late and can only get to them so quickly. Yes, any interaction helps. It's funny, right? Because I think I was saying this yesterday or the day before with all those trolls I face, right? Sometimes I just string them along for a little bit because the interaction helps. They can dislike that, hit that thumbs down button, which nobody else can see anymore. I can see the numbers, but nobody does it anymore because nobody can see. Everything's like 99%, blah, blah, blah. They can hit that as much as they like. They can call me whatever they want, as long as it's not like, Holocaust style, things like that. It helps the channel. If you hate the channel and you still watch it and you still like hit the dislike and you still leave comments, the system sees it all as the same, right? The algorithm's not that sophisticated, especially because they just took that out. Dislikes don't mean anything anymore. So it helps. Any interaction helps. It's amazing and kind of funny. Yeah, Duško Popov. Yeah, did I say that right? Duško Popov. It was an amazing show. And Johnny, yeah, that was insane. Yeah, again, you can. Yeah, that was a crazy show. You guys need to watch that. And sorry, what was I gonna say? Yeah, like Scott, you didn't think you were like not doing it. You're doing an amazing job because you've been working at that one and you know the stuff because you know the archives. So that was amazing. You had nothing to worry about saying one or two things wrong. Come on, I'm on here all the time. I screw up constantly. You didn't screw up. That was amazing. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep singing your praises because that is. Oh, he's trying to get me riled up again. He loves doing that. Oh, jeez. Quiet, O'Keefe. Come to my town and cause me problems. My archives. Oh, thank you, Lorelei. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry. I saw Dave is also here, Dave Patterson. I think it disappeared, but thank you both for the super chats. I really appreciate them. They really help as well. Any little bit helps if you can. They're amazing to help. I don't know what the minimum is set at anymore. Guess it depends on your currency, but they are very helpful every little bit, because I do have a plan for some funding. See if it comes through. I need to figure some few things out. Again, it's a lot of up in the air, but again, money is obviously always a huge factor in all these things. Like if I could do this all the time, I would, but it doesn't provide the cash flow that I need it to yet. It may never. I don't know. We'll see. It's another thing I have to keep working at and thinking about. Yeah, the code name Ivan, that was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, the answer I'm passionate is yeah, it's amazing to see. Sorry, I was reading one comment ahead. Yeah, oh yeah, the is it in Flanders Fields Museum? Is it still the name? Cloth Hall, the Cloth Hall. I think it's closed. They're renovating it, I think, or is it open again? I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe that was a few years back and it's open now. I don't know what COVID did to it in terms of construction, that kind of thing, timelines. But yeah, I've done that. I did that back in 2016. It was amazing. I mean, climbing that thing was a someone in my frame. It was a little squishy, and I have like legs and arms like like a daddy long leg spider kind of thing. So it's hard to crawl my way through there, but it was definitely worth it. And seeing everything, because it's so flat, right? You can just see so far. I was even there on the day it was like socked in with rain, and I still could see so far. And they point things out, and it's if it is, it's a hike to get up there, literally, because it's such a small old medieval tower. But it's definitely worth it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, going to Heap is amazing. It's sorry, just yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, Keith just kind of said the same message about breaking bed in peace with each other, which is amazing. I mean, yeah, like I went there with Dave. I think I don't know if he's still here. Anyway, because Dave was leading the Canadian Foundation's Battlefield Tour. Or if I said that wrong, I'm sorry. Not on the channel talking about it anyway. So he was leading that. So the first stop was Heap, and it was amazing. I love that little town. Not so little anymore, but it's a great place, great people. The last Menengate ceremony is amazing. The last post, that's what I was trying to say. They've done it every night since they were able to start doing it again in 1945 or 44, since the war, because they had to stop because of those Nazi fellows. Yeah, it's amazing to see the people come and the atmosphere. It's kind of hard to describe. I'm sure there's lots of videos online, but it's still, because depending on time of year and everything, I'm sure the mood changes, and just the immensity of that place, of that memorial itself, with all those names that go. I don't even know how tall that thing is. It's big, and you feel small in there, in sort of a good way, in a remembrance way, and sort of a reverence kind of to the dead. And it's just so many. And just I went there, I think, after our tour was done that day, and it was before or after the ceremony, and I basically had the place to myself. I think it was just before sunset. Yeah, so I was kind of there by myself, or just after. I don't remember. And it's just there's not really that many people around, so I kind of just took everything in, and it's just it's heartbreaking, but also the reverence and taking that in. If you can see it, I highly recommend it. Yes, Dave. So there's a super chat. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm trying to find that. Turns out I ordered the wrong box because I was there on Wednesday. I'm going back this week at some point because I live there at least one day a week, sometimes more. I ordered the wrong box because I was being a bit of an idiot, and the one as the backup box I already went through. Sorry, a little sideline here, but we're trying to figure out something for our tour. Which I'm sure you'll get lots of details from me about later. But yeah, I ordered the wrong box. I should get it this week, I hope, unless they have some sort of backup, which who knows. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I need to get your museum. I need to get to the UK again, I guess. Yeah. You got lots of good stuff by the sounds of it. Oh, thanks for joining us. Awesome. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Yeah, you are lucky, Andrews. That would be crazy. I can't talk. Amazing to be able to go often. I mean, right? It's so hard for Canadians to get across. Obviously, COVID doesn't help. It's amazing to go, and a place I miss, and just the town itself. Like I tell people who ask, right, when I went to Normandy, especially because I had a buddy of mine who went to Europe, and he asked, he's like, "Should I go to Ypres?" He's not really that interested in this stuff. He had some relatives fighting the war and things like that. I said, "Yeah, it's great," and he loved going. He just loved the town. The town was great, and it's got lots of stuff, and it's tons going on there, and the food is awesome. The beer is cheap. Yeah, it's a great place. So, and yeah, again, like I said, my buddy who went there loved it. So there's lots to do depending on the time of year as well. They have like festivals and stuff, and there's that weird cat festival that they have because they threw the cat out the tower, and then they blame that on the plague on that, and now they do like a ceremonial thing because they want the cats back. It's a whole thing. There's like a cat store that's still running. I don't know that story very well, but it's a weird little town when it comes to tourism. You got the cat thing, and then you got the World War I thing, and then my buddy was there at a time of metal festival. He was very confused because he was not expecting that. Because I told him it's this like sleepy little town on the battlefields, the old battlefields. And he's here with all these metalheads who are very nice people. He's just very confused because it was very loud near it, and yeah, it was pretty funny. But it's a hopping place, that's for sure. Yes, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes. Yeah, they don't really necessarily market that, depending on who it is. But yeah, it's a fair assumption. Again, we don't want to do these things without evidence, because I've gotten in trouble for this in the past. Because I was trying to understand, why so many Canadian conscripts were dying, right? In Canada, there were so many dying. This was years ago at 2018. I was doing some projects around the centenary conferences, that kind of thing. So yeah, like that was a part of it. And, you can't really say that for sure without the evidence of what it is, right? Because this was 100 years ago plus now, obviously. So it's hard to say. I mean, again, also the spring offensives, the Germans launched in 1918, caused a huge number of casualties, and just trench warfare in itself is extremely dangerous. What do they call it? The wastage rates of death. Trench warfare is constant death, and that didn't stop in 1918. Yeah, I have heard about this podcast. I haven't had a chance to listen to it because I can't listen to podcasts while I work because then I don't get anything done. I just stop listening. I have trouble with that, so I try not to listen to too many podcasts, but that could be worth checking out because those guys are still everywhere. I see them all the time on social media and that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they don't get much attention. It's not it's not what he like as what he likes to say in others, right? It's not the sexiness of it, right? It doesn't have that, that dashing, all that stuff. It doesn't really get that. It doesn't have it in the records. There's very little mention of it. It's not in many of the war diaries I've seen that are like the other units. The medical units obviously are different. Sometimes they're completely sparse because they're clearly busy. So it's just they don't get much attention. And Ted Barris, it's over somewhere, did a book on medics, which is amazing. He talked about it on World War II TV a while back. So that's something and great, right? There's been some of the famous medics and things like that. So they get some attention, like things like, what's that movie? Iwo Jima, Flags of Our Fathers, because one of them was a medic, right? Or a corpsman in the Navy, right? Not in the Marine Corps. Say one thing about Sam Hughes. Is that a question, Craig? He lived. Does that count as nice? Not a fan. Not a fan of that guy. People do defend him based on things of whatever. I think the things he did were far worse than any other good he did. Like Robert Engen, who's looked at this stuff like academically about inoculations and things like that. Or yeah, because there was some resistance to that and he pushed for it. then he would do other things that I think would undo his work and get people killed for other things. So, I mean, I don't literally have a balance sheet of like Sam Hughes death, Sam Hughes saved a life, Sam death, life saved. I don't have that. But I mean, come on. And people want me to make videos on him. I will when I get time, because he just drives me nuts. I found some letters he wrote up with the Ross. Oh my God, that guy was unhinged, just completely unhinged. Oh, he like thought like it was the opposite. He thought people, Brits, he says this specifically, I don't know, he just makes stuff up, obviously, were taking their Lee Enfields, chucking them, and picking up Rosses. What? Like, and he's talking to the maker, or the not the initial, because he didn't actually design it. Ross himself, he was the company. It wasn't even his design. He stole someone else's. About how this is the case, and I'm like, how delusional are you? That the Brits would even hear about this rifle in these other divisions, and then they're just going to chuck theirs for this one that they heard about once. Like, it's completely nuts. It's just nuts. Yeah, that's Nicholas. Yeah, why I sometimes humor them in that sense. I'm trying to trick them. If they watch this, they'll know, but I doubt it. They're obviously not interested in anything I actually have to say. They just have their own agendas of usually being terrible. But yeah, it's all driven by engagement, and yeah. No, not actually. No. Well, because thumbdowns don't really mean anything anymore, because it used to be a public count, but YouTube took that away, and people got upset about that for some reason. I don't really know why. It's gone now, so it doesn't really matter. But no, some of them get more because I think they just don't like what I have to say. Not that it's necessarily a bad video. I'll be like, these 12th SS weren't the greatest soldiers on the face of the planet, and then people don't like that. Right, because they're obsessed and they have these views in their head and things like that, and literal neo-Nazis find me and say these things. So yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yes, Dave. Well, you don't have to bribe me. I just ordered the wrong box because I was an idiot. Too much going on. I ordered the wrong damn box. I looked at the Lauren Scott's one. There's nothing in there, by the way. I ordered the wrong one because I clicked the wrong link. Too much stuff going on. Yeah, it is in Flanders Fields. Yeah, great museum. Love that place. Yeah. Good question, Lorelei. Yes, my wife. Does she have a passion? She does. She did, which is actually quite rare in Canada. She did a law degree for undergrad, which I didn't know existed until I met her. The other university in town, as I say, the other one, because I went to University of Ottawa. Carleton University offers a undergraduate law degree. You don't become a lawyer after doing it, like in, say, like the UK. It just kind of gives you the basics. She did her minors in history, actually. She didn't complete it because she wanted to get out and go to law school as fast as possible. I don't really blame her for. But she does. Actually, lately she's been watching, what's it called? Oversimplified. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that channel. Excuse me. They cover like the big events, like French Revolution, American Civil War, the World Wars, Russian Revolution, Industrial Revolution. They did one on Prohibition in the U.S. And they, like, in a humorous way, talk about these big events. And most of it is good history. Actually, I'm surprised by some of them were really, really good. Some of them, some bigger points get missed. But yeah, she's been watching those lately. She likes that kind of stuff. She likes that kind of history that's accessible, that's funny, because it's cartoons. It's like hand-drawn cartoons that this guy has put into some program or something. He's been doing it for years. She really likes that kind of history, and she likes hearing my stories. And because I usually, like, she's always like, "What did you do for work today?" I'm like, "Well, I sat at my computer all day typing." It's not really a story to tell a significant other, so I tell her if I found anything funny or notable. It's happened quite a few times. I've had some pretty funny archive stories that I can share if you guys want to hear, about events I've read about and things like that. So yes, she does in that sense. Not like me, who's trying to make a career out of it and did a PhD. Not that intense, but not a lot of people are, and maybe not as crazy as me. So probably for the best. It's close. I assume you're talking about in Flanders Fields, Dave. I assume. Yes, you can see the ridge, the Passchendaele Ridge. I can't talk. Um, um, yeah, yeah, you can see that far if it's not, socked in with one of the worst rainstorms of the century, which we had when I was there. Yeah, Scott, you're right. I know I do, and it's a fascinating topic, and I want to. Um, it's just time wise, man. Again, I don't have to tell you because you're busy too. I know how busy you are because you tell me. It's just, yeah, it would take some time for someone to do it right because it's a topic, not in the sense that I don't think it would get an interest. It's just, I think it's got to be done in a certain way, and I just don't have the time to do that. I need more time. That's my thing. I always don't have enough time for anything because life is life. But that said, that is something I would like to look at. Maybe by November, I could put something together that would fit with the anniversary. Do some digging on it, and that article would be a good starting point, obviously, that you sent me, which I think would be cool. Because yeah, it's an interesting part, right? Because you see all the American, obviously, reactions to what's going on in Cuba at the time. We're right there too. Canada's population is 90% of the population is an hour from the U.S. border. So it's like we were kind of in it too. Our military was bigger at the time than it is even now. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So it's involved. So what's going on? Especially with the Navy, there's lots going on there. So yeah, I think that would be awesome to do a video on when I can catch my breath. History Explorer, woohoo! Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it is open again. Yeah, I thought so. I think that's what I read. I don't know. Is the tower open? I think it's all open again. I don't know. I've been following it and just kind of dropped off. Yes, I have been there. With Dave Sheldrake here. Yeah, Beaumont ML. Yes, yeah. It's chilling in the sense of if you especially know in detail what happened, or just in general trench warfare, the first day of the Somme, July 1st, 1916, right? Because this is that Canadian connection to that day specifically. Canada, the Canadian Corps obviously fights in the Somme, not until later, bringing actually the chunk of the campaign to a close. But as of now, Newfoundland becomes part of Canada as of 1949. Like that's the Canadian connection. I've gotten trouble for people. He's not Canada then. I'm like, thank you. I'm aware of the state, the years that the provinces entered Confederation. Thank you very much. Particularly if I can check it online, I can get them not mixed up. Sometimes I do with those middle ones. I get the wrong 1880 date wrong. Sometimes. Anyway, I know that. But yes, I have been there. I use the caribou from there. It has my logo. It's just it struck me and it's stuck with me. That place stuck with me because when you walk in that park, you see the communication. Sorry, the second line trench is right there, right? The parking lot, right by the memorials there to the 29th Division that fought there that day, which the Newfoundlanders were part of. And then seeing that open ground and then the danger tree is what you're talking about, which is concrete now because the original one is long gone because they ripped it apart for souvenirs. People would just take chunks of it. So they now cast it in cement. But yeah, it's not far. You can see why it was such a slaughter, right? The Germans were using well dug in positions on a reverse slope on a sunny day. And the 29th Division was wearing triangles. I literally have a picture of Mark Milner doing this in the picture because he's at the memorial where we started the tour, and he's explaining that they had these shiny triangles on their back for identifiers from the air. But when you're retreating on a sunny day, it's gonna literally shine, and the Germans will see you and cut you down. Even though most of them they didn't see because they didn't even make it over the ridge. And the Germans just fire on a set, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just do that all day until the attack stops. Again, so why it's just such a an outright slaughter is what it was. I mean, the losses were huge. And obviously, they still have an impact on Newfoundland today. That like July 1st in Newfoundland is not like the rest of the country. As far as I know, I've never been on the 1st. I've never been to Newfoundland, period. My family has, but I haven't. The morning is the solemn, somber part, right, of the loss on the Somme and impact that had on Newfoundland, and then in the night or afternoon and nighttime is like the Canada Day stuff. So it's both. And I went to the 100th anniversary memorial that they had here in Ottawa in 2016 on the 1st. That was really interesting to get that kind of sense a little bit of what it was like. And they had representatives from Newfoundland. I think the premier wasn't there, but somebody was there. One of their cabinet members or something, came to represent the province, and it was a really interesting one. But yes, it's terrifying. I mean, I've got that sense from other battlefields as well, but particularly Beaumont and Malice, for some reason, is stuck with me. I can't really explain why, but it just has. I'm not really sure. Obviously, other ones have as well, but that one is really, really, really stuck with me. Oh, that's awesome. Going back to starting an EAP. Yeah, I like starting an EAP. It was really cool. I think it was a good sense, right? Because that's kind of where the war starts for Canada, right? So I think it's a good place to do. Oh, hey, Bruce. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Oh, hi, Phil. Thanks for coming. How long have I had this channel? That's a good question. Technically, since February of 2021. I wasn't sure I wanted to do a channel. I guess I can just talk about this real quick. I wasn't sure. Actually, how it actually starts is I was doing I guess they call it a podcast. So what I was doing was something with which I now work with them in a limited capacities. The Royal Canadian Regiment Museum, or CR Museum, as I call it, in London, Ontario, my hometown. Takes me moving 8 hours away for me to get working with them. But they wanted me to talk about Hong Kong, and they wanted to record on YouTube. And I'd never done anything like that. I'd given, conference talks and 20 minutes at a blow kind of thing, and other presentations, blah, blah, blah. Meetings, all that kind of stuff. I'd always done that sort of thing. But I'd never done like this, right? And I had been on World War II TV at that point once, I want to say, for a Hong Kong thing, obviously. I think we did it on or just after the start of the battle. It was up until like 3 a.m. to film that thing. It's crazy. Anyway, so I wasn't really planning on doing anything with it. I just heard YouTube was growing more and more, which it has been. I mean, YouTube's been growing like crazy, even within the last year. I just wanted to make sure nobody else got that name in case I changed my mind. So I just kind of registered it and didn't do anything with it for about a month. Unfortunately, the first videos I had posted are now gone. I had to take them down to get that monetization level. Because they kept saying I was using, repetitive content that someone had already posted years back. So I had to take a good chunk of that down. And I'm still trying to do something with it. The first video, I think, was an animation of the Battle of Vimy Ridge. It was really interesting. I'm going to try and have that out for the 9th, for next month. But explaining what's going on in this animation. It's fantastic. I think it was made in the 30s. At one point, you can see, because it's frame by frame, right? It's not, digital, obviously. It's like they're moving pieces on a black, I don't know, huge board. Anyway, I can show it later. But anyway, so they're moving it like hand by hand. And at one point, someone's hand is in the frame when they took the picture. So it's just, I thought that was cool. That's what kind of stuck with me. And why I remember that, because it was one of the first videos. That's how long I've been at it. I've been at it since March 2021. Still pretty small. What am I at? 5,000. One sec. 5,496 subscribers. So that's a very small fish in the YouTube world. It's been getting better this last little bit. It's been pretty big. Lots of big bumps. I'm trying to get over. I don't know. I don't really have a goal anymore. I just more as possible, more views as possible. I need as many of that as I can get, as much engagement. I keep mentioning it, but that's kind of what I'm going for. But yeah, it's been about a bit, and I really obviously enjoy it. So I plan to keep going. Yes, the beer is excellent. Brad, if you know, was there only one German weather station on Canadian soil in World War II? Or is that even wrong? No, it's not wrong per se. Again, this is Newfoundland. This is the Labrador part of the province, which is on the mainland, which is borders Quebec. Germans placed weather station Kurt. Actually, I have a video on the channel of it in the War Museum. They placed it there in 42. It only worked for a little bit, transmitting some weather data. shut down, and they didn't go back and just left it. It wasn't brought to the attention again until I think a German meteorologist, a scientist. I can't remember if they were an actual meteorologist or whatever. If they just worked on it. It was like, has anybody gone and checked on this? And then they went there. It was still there. It was not doing anything. It was just sitting there. This is pretty inaccessible land in northern Labrador. It's tundra, so it's not exactly popular or easy to get to. So yeah, it sits in the War Museum now. It's in their main gallery, the Breton Gallery, with all the tanks and guns and stuff. It's just chilling there with everybody else. Weather Station Kurt. I have a video of it on the channel. I don't explain anything in the video, which I'm not doing anymore for videos, but it's there. You can see it. It's pretty tiny, and yeah, as far as I know, that's the only one. Again, I could be wrong, but I know that one was there and they found it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So technically at the time, not Canada, but close enough, It was Canada when they found it. Yeah, here it is. Andreas knows. Yeah. Yeah, they're not real cats. Sorry, guys. It's just, I think I said stuffed cat. Yeah. They throw a stuffed cat out the tower. Yeah, I don't know. Medieval Europe, man. It's crazy. Crazy time. Yeah, I heard about this. Yeah, I saw the fence. I saw someone put up a fence with like one of those spinny, I don't know what to call them, gates. I don't know what to call. I got caught in one of those, by the way. I went to a football match at Arsenal, actually, and stupid Canadian only goes to hockey games and football games. Never seen one of those before. I've been on them in like subways and stuff, but I wasn't paying attention, and the thing got me right in the chest. The security guards like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." It's like he's probably thought I was just some dumb American and didn't know what he was doing. I'm a dumb Canadian, not a dumb American. Got me right in the chest. God, that hurt. Anyway, so yeah, I've seen those. I saw the fence. That's unfortunate. I don't know why they're. Well, I know why they're doing it. It's to make money, but that's unfortunate. Oh, hey Phil. He's not really here, so that's cool. But he's still here, so we can talk about him. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so Phil wants to do something with the 12th SS on the channel, so we're gonna plan on doing that. I think we said April, some point. We'll let you guys know. We're definitely gonna cover that, and I'm just gonna let Phil do his thing because he knows clearly what he's doing better than me. Yeah. Okay. So back to Spanish. So yeah, I know we're all over the place, but this is the nature of the game. Yeah, I've heard it started in China, Kansas. There's talk that it started in, is it Boulogne? Somewhere along the channel in France, in one of those big camps. I don't think we're ever going to get the actual details of where it starts. Yeah, it's great to find out and everything, but I don't think we're ever going to get the detail of exactly what happens. Because there's flu-like symptoms discovered in China, also in Kansas. And people just think the camps along the channel were just so bad that that's what happened. But I don't know. Let you English hooligans go, eh? Well, yeah, it's cheaper than water, literally. Yes, there was several. Sorry, Miss Phil here. Got VCs. One of them is Canadian, Frederick Topham. In Operation Varsity, jumping with the 1st Parachute Battalion, Canadian 1st Parachute Battalion, over the Rhine. He gets VC for his actions in saving people, other troopers on that day. Crazy story. One of the VCs, Canada. I really want to cover all the VCs from, I guess, well, Second World War, because there's a lot in the First World War, but it is my plan eventually to cover them all. Yeah, it was a medieval thing. Oh, O'Keefe left. Sorry. Bye, O'Keefe. That was a while ago. Sorry. I'm just trying to catch up. Yeah, they threw him out of the window as some sort of, they thought they were evil or something. I don't know. Hi, Marks and Sparks. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here. Oh, good. Dave got it. Dave is my backup. He knows this stuff. Yeah. Actually, so one I can. Oh, okay. Bye, Phil. Miss Phil again. Wait, Christmas? What? It's Christmas? I'm so confused. Anyway, so yeah, just a quick one. So one of the papers I did a while back was on why the Canadian National Memorial for the First World War is at Vimy Ridge, right? Like it wasn't preordained by some sort of supreme being that this memorial be on Hill 145 on Vimy Ridge. So I want to look at why. So maybe I'll do something with that in the future. Wrote a paper on it. What I found is all these things going on around this. One of the funniest things I found was one of the engineers who was working on it, head of the project, was living there, right, for years, Canadian living there. So he was allowed to bring any whiskey he wanted duty free, no problem. So he brought like a couple cases because he was there for years. He wanted some apples from England, right? And in France, this is the time of protections and tariffs and things like that. He got some apples from England. That he had to pay tariff on. He had to pay. He wasn't sure how much. He didn't know he had to. The saga went on for a year. That's one of the craziest finds I found that I can't do anything with. It's just, I'm going through and be like, oh, we need to pay these workers. Oh, no, Walter Allward's upset about whatever he was upset about that day. Oh, and then here's your tax bill for your apples. This just kept happening. And then the price kept going up and up and up and up and up. It's just like, that's one of the craziest stories I think I've ever come across. That was a funny one. Who is an authority on the Royal Canadian Navy during the Cuban Missile Crisis? I have no idea. I don't know. Is there an authority on the Cold War Navy in Canada? I'm sure grad students have worked on it, but I don't know who. Mark Milner knows his stuff, even though he doesn't like being put in a box as a naval historian because he said that to me himself. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. If somebody knows, please let me know. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome to visit the Hawthorne crater. Seen that video about 1 million times. Oh, these are some good questions. A few questions on CP Stacy. For those of you who don't know, he was the official historian in the Second World War of the Canadian Army. Best review critique of his work. Oh, geez. There was a time, and there are still people today who believe Stacy is beyond critique. Here we go. This might be another rant. Last time I had a rant about lack of popularity and why of Canadian military history. We might be getting into rant territory here, so everybody buckle in. Some people think, and some still do, and they won't say it directly because someone said it to me indirectly, that he is untouchable. Everything Stacy said is right. Everything he said is the way it is. He has set the story. He didn't, that's not how history works. It's just, you have to keep updating. He didn't have access to every record. He didn't understand everything fully. There are some things he doesn't really touch. He'll write half a page on and then move on. Like Hanlon has half a page. What is that? How can that be the be all end all, right? That doesn't make any sense. I said the things he said about Hong Kong were wrong or were just made up. And I'm just like, how does that work? And I got crap. I was going to say the other word, but I still don't know how the demonetization thing works around here with swearing. I was like, I got crap for that because Stacy already talked about it. I'm like, yeah, but he didn't have the context. He didn't talk about it correctly. He missed this record. I don't remember exactly what it was because it was a while ago. But that's just one thing I know the best, right? I know Hong Kong the best, and he just didn't do a good job. He tried his best because I completely agree and respect for him for that because he talks about that in his autobiography of how that was the most difficult thing he had to work on because he didn't know what was going on. It was shrouded in controversy and records didn't exist and people wanted him to shut up about it. I get that. And I think he would agree. Again, I don't want to put words in the mouths of the dead, but just what? He can't be the be all end all. This is the mid 50s when this stuff comes out. Like, that's a long time ago. We have new records, new accesses, new perspectives. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know if there's like a book review of all of Stacy. Like, people have written about him. I know Roger Sardi's working on stuff about him. Some articles have come out. Sardi knew Stacy. I asked him about Stacy. He said he was a great guy, a really great teacher, great historian, all that good stuff. But be that as it may, we should all historians be open to criticism about our work, right? If we do something wrong or our assumptions are based on outdated evidence or the wrong evidence, like, that's what I mean. Like, Stacy's almost held up in this godlike status, and it's just not appropriate. It's not how we should do it. So yes, I have thought about doing a show on him. I don't know how popular it would be. I don't know. Maybe we could do a live stream with somebody about it, but I don't know how popular it would be, because that's pretty niche having official historian discussed for a very, for Canada as it is, the topics are already so niche and so small. I mean, I'm working at it, but it's hard. Next to the whale, we're like a guppy over here. So it's difficult. Could a better history be created? Yeah, of course. I definitely think it could be. A better one could be done. A better official history could be done. It could be more authoritative. It could be more in depth. There's things we can add. There's new perspectives we can bring in, new stories, different ways of looking at it. Certain things were just blown through because they only had 3 volumes, and they're worried about their budget being taken away at the drop of a hat, and all of this stuff. So, and we know all of this because Tim Crook has done this. This was his PhD dissertation was on, the writing of Canada's world wars. So this is how we know all this stuff. This is all accessible now. You can find all these records ourselves. So yeah, I think it could be done better. There's different ways of going about it and things like that. And some of the assumptions he makes about Normandy are just, to me, are bonkers. Like, he just believes that the Canada screwed up in a lot of ways and they were terrible, and that informed the historiography for decades. People like Terry Copp are like, wait a minute, and are still fighting against that. Mark Milner as well was stopping the Panzers, and I'm trying to take that up as well in the digital space, and it's just such an uphill battle because that's the stupid thing Stacy said. So yes, a better history could be done because it's just old, but no one's going to do it. That's the problem. This is part of the rant. It's just not going to happen because there's no money to do these things. How, I don't know what's going on at DHH with this stuff. I don't know if they're planning on official histories. I've heard something about the Air Force. I don't know. But no one's going to touch the Army again. It's been done. Mark Miller told me himself when he worked there, is like, yeah, we don't talk. It's done. It's finished. He did it. It's over. It's just like, what? It just doesn't make any sense and drives me crazy. So yeah, so that's my insight on that. Sorry if I'm missing stuff here. Yeah, I mean, Dave has it right here. He had a lot of freedom. He did. Not disagreeing with Dave there. I mean, just the nuance, right? Like, he had freedom on Hong Kong, sort of, right? He's like, and he dug in on some things, like Hong Kong was one of them. And there were mistakes put forward in official British sources. And Stacey went, hang on a second, you can't support that. That doesn't make sense. You cannot do that. So there's that. Other things, he did some weird things and agreed with other people who didn't have the correct evidence, like, again, Normandy. And he said some other things wrong, and dates and stuff like that are wrong. But yeah, he did have a lot of freedom, wasn't constrained as politically. I mean, he was and he wasn't. I mean, King was gone by that point, and that man hated King with a fiery passion. My God. Stacey's biography of King is something somebody should look at, because, my God, he hated that man with a fiery passion, and he let you know that in his biography of King. It's completely unfair, and he just found the worst way to present any of that evidence. And so, yeah, I think he was like hemmed in by that, and there's still people in command in the Army at the time who were involved in the decisions of the war, and it just, some things didn't get discussed the way they should have been. Yeah, the only thing, back to official histories, actually, Andreas, is the CEF official history is available online. You can find it. I could post it later below in the description, or somebody can find it. Well, I don't know if links work in the chat. I don't think they do. It's available online. If you just put in Canadian Expeditionary Force official history, it should come up. It's in English, obviously, but translation tools are great nowadays, right? So, and obviously, you know how to speak English, as we've communicated multiple times. That's the official one, right? Obviously, it's got some holes, but it was written also later, so it's a little better than you might expect from official history. And Nicholson, who wrote the Thinger, was the lead author and historian at the time. Really good job. But yeah, other books, like more popular books nowadays, are more difficult to get. I definitely get that. But of course, Tim Cook wrote like the definitive, you know, on the ground infantry book of the First World War with at the sharp end and shock troops. Like those two are amazing and a must own for anyone who's interested in Canada in the First World War. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I assume the same. There was a lot of anti-submarine warfare at the time, you know, the whole blockade business. And I assume most of it's now classified as well. Yeah, and Dave's the same. Yeah, you are correct, Genie. There could be more we don't know about. I mean, the Canadian North is so expansive and so inaccessible in so many points. There could be more we don't know. I just think the story of Kurt is so funny. One guy's just like, wait a second, did we do something with that? And then gets in touch with the Canadian government. It's like, did you guys know about this? They're like, what? I just think it's hilarious. It's so funny because it's just like, what are you talking about? Even the German government didn't know what he was talking about. It was hilarious. Turnstiles, that's the word. Yeah, I got it right in the chest. One of the spokes got me right in the chest. That hurt like a mother. It doesn't surprise me, especially the way they're treated them. Why wouldn't they just assume that? It's funny. Of course they knew because they know how to get around. Sorry, I'm just reading this. Interested in who creates? Sorry, I just don't understand. How to do the review, military strategy and tours, and the challenges of making the volumes, career under the breast. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Tim Cook's book. It's a heavy academic tome because it's, like I said, it's his dissertation. Of course, Tim is a great writer. So that helps there, but it's still academic. So it's a bit dense, but in a good way. The detail is fantastic. And that's where I would start to understand that stuff. If you can get your hands on it. Cleo's Warriors, sorry. CeeLo, that's somebody, that's an artist. that's a music artist. Yeah, that's where it all is in there. Yeah, it's great. I have a copy behind me somewhere. Yes, I was reading about this. Oh, well, I read about this all the time. Sorry, I'm getting thirsty again. Yeah, Canadian VC, it has not been awarded. There's a new honor system in Canada, relatively new, in the 90s. I guess that feels like it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, they wanted a separate honor system. We haven't awarded it because we set the bar extremely high and hasn't been awarded. Sorry. There was a whole push for it to be done with an action in Afghanistan. It didn't happen, but it's still a sore point for a lot of people. So I don't want to talk about it too much. Oh, Christmas. Oh, right. Yeah. Phil was sick. He was really sick. Still having those post, what is it called? Long COVID symptoms, problems. Yeah. So hopefully he feels better. That is on average how often you find yourself at LAC? Once a week, usually. Yeah, especially lately because I've still got some clients I'm working with, private clients. Yeah, it's there frequently there. I mean, it's getting a little better with the access. I mean, they're only open at 4 p.m., which drives me nuts. Like the working day does not end at 4. I got things to do, but you got to go. And they only open at 9. Like open at 8 and go to 4. Like it's only an hour. Security guards are already there. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It drives me nuts. But that's another rant for another day. The archive access is odd. Yeah. No, nobody is beyond criticism, but that is how things have gone. And it's not good. Yeah, Jack English did it differently. I don't necessarily agree with the way he did it, but he did it differently. Yeah, it's different. There's mistakes. New things come to light. Things were done for a certain reason. Things were just omitted for political reasons, like the Hong Kong stuff. Again, I just keep speaking of that because I know it the best. It just wasn't. You can't get in trouble if you just don't do it. You just leave it out. It's fine. You're not going to get. The crap's not going to roll downhill on you, as they say. And as omission is just as bad. Yeah, depending on what you're trying to understand, yes. And that's exactly what happens. Oh, hey, Philip, how's it going? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I usually just start with it because, A, it's accessible. It's in a PDF that I can find, no problem. And I know that's where the assumptions start from. So do I have to confirm? Do I have to undo it? Do I have to look and see where it's going on here? That's why I usually start with it, just because of those reasons. And this is where so many of these things come from, right? Like numbers. Some of them are just straight out of Stacy and haven't changed. Some of them have and are still being cited as out of Stacy. Like I've seen this for numerous things, like the app and other places. Like the different numbers are just out of Stacy and no one's bothered to check elsewhere because they use the latest source that use Stacy and they don't bother. So it's things like that. It's just, I agree. But he looms so large, I just don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, it's Cleo's Warriors. It's an amazing book. Oh, they're not ebooks. I thought they were. Yeah, that sucks. When am I visiting Europe on a tour? I'm going on a. I just want to see if Dave's one has already beat me to the punch here. I'm going for a recce with Dave on the 20th to the 25th, and then I'm going again at the end of April, going to the Netherlands and parts of Germany. Netherlands, Nijmegen Salient, all that fun stuff. Yeah, first time I've been there since 2016. Well, to the Battlefield stuff. Yeah, so I'm really excited to go. I bought all my necessary stuff last weekend, my new clothes and things like that, because I haven't had new stuff in years. Yeah, I mean, if you can just grab from a library or something, I don't know if it's worth like owning. Yeah, it's really interesting. I read it just for my dissertation. It was just so eye-opening, and the way he talks about certain things in there, and it's fascinating. Yeah, I really think you should, Chris, especially with the stuff you're doing, because it just intersects so well. And yeah, you can't post anything of privacy information, like all that stuff in the chats. It won't let you. Yeah, I think I'm caught up now. So if you guys have other questions, please let me know. Just gonna see if I missed anything. Yeah, YouTube doesn't really have DMs, unfortunately. So you have to do it through something else, or just I can always help people get in touch with each other if it's necessary. I've done it before. I don't mind helping. Yeah, and just see if I missed anything. Yeah, I mean, well, I am technically one of them, helping with official histories and that kind of thing. But I understand the problem with it. Yeah, it's always been problematic, obviously. But when all these records were kept, we're still classified, right? What do? You have to get a government employee to do it. You can't just release them all if you're trying to, keep things like Enigma secret. It just doesn't work that way, right? So, and it's better than keeping them behind a wall. It's something at least. Like, I mean, yeah, because you can still see the citations today, and it's like, well, it's this document. It's like, well, if you can't access it, what good does that do me? And they've changed it so much. Some of those times, those references are just not good and are outdated, and you can't find them, and all that fun stuff. Yeah. That's a really good question. Yeah, Mark Lou, on this day. So, yeah, I guess it's another settle in for a story. So OTD stands for on this day. So way back when, I don't even know how old the Twitter account is now at this point. I think the anniversary is coming up. It's pretty old. Anyway, So long story short, back in the day, I went to school for human resources. And this was back in 2012. And back then, um, Twitter was big in terms of networking. LinkedIn wasn't quite what it was, and turned into what it is now, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so the whole school I was like, Twitter, 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 use it to network. So that lesson stuck in my brain when I started my PhD, because I was in American history before. That was the field I kind of knew. Wasn't big on knowing like the nitty gritty like I do now of the Canadian history field and the details and the people and everybody like that. So I'm like, hey, let's network. Personal brands, they're like, some people were varied on just be yourself, talk about stuff, whatever, you'll get a following. So I said, I don't particularly find myself that interesting without something to talk about. So I was like, hey, let's do Canadian military history on this day. At first, I thought somebody else had already done it. I thought there was going to be multiple. I guess that was naive of me at the time. There was none. So I was like, I'll do it. It can't be that hard. Turns out it's hard. And to make it good and to make it interesting. And yeah, there's lots of that going on. So I started the Twitter account. So it's just literally on this day. I didn't know Twitter well back then either. I literally threw a sentence as a name, which was a mistake. And it just got so popular. It took off pretty fast as far as Twitter accounts go. It's not really the main focus lately. So it's not growing like it used to. But yeah, so there's that. So yeah, and I just started growing from there. Put it onto the Facebook group or whatever they call themselves now, Meta apps for social media. Those are also there. And now here, like I already talked about the YouTube channel earlier. So it's all part of the same brand. It's nothing official. Again, like that's one of my goals is to maybe make this official, maybe make it a business, nonprofit. I don't know. I don't know if it can sustain that. Just me, because it is just me. There's nobody else. I've done pretty much everything for OTD. I've got help here and there with like stories and stuff, and Scott's been awesome. Scott sends me stuff all the time, and he finds these great things. So I've had help like that, and you guys have been amazing. And patrons and YouTube channel members give me ideas, and just people on Twitter and stuff like that. But like all the behind the scenes stuff is just me, so it's hard to run it on my own. So I don't know if it has that legs for the future. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what it stands for. I know that's not the answer you were looking for, but that's what it stands for. Because there was lots of like on this day history accounts that I found on Twitter that were extremely popular and had like hundreds of thousands of followers. So I thought that's a good way to reach people, right? Because it's something every day. Because the blogs back then, everybody's like, you have to be consistent. You got to set a schedule. You got to do, people need to know, when this is happening. Like that was the message. Like that was the message. So I every day I can write a tweet every day. That's not that much. Still do it. I've been doing it for years. I've missed a few because I've had to take some breaks, and the scheduling software is not as good as it used to be. So I missed a few and had a death in the family at the end of last year. So I took a break. But other than that, it's been constant ever since. And I do it here on YouTube now. So if I disappear from other places, I'm still always here. The posts are up every day here too as well, because why not? Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. So Operation Husky, I don't have anything lined up yet. I do want to do something. What that is, I don't know. So I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I talked about how, excuse me, I commissioned to make a video on Operation Market Garden. It's going to be big. I think it probably half an hour, if not longer, runtime. Maybe less, 20, 30 minutes. So that's a big one. That's long. That takes a lot of work, right? That's a lot of editing, a lot of everything, script writing, all that stuff. So that's going to take some time. But that's going to be done by the end of this month. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So that is my next big one. So after that one, during that time, I'm going to be thinking about what I want to do for Husky. Do I want to do something similar? Do I want to have a big video that's about Husky itself? I think so. I think that's my idea. And again, scheduling live streams with other people is always a goal of mine. With more time, which I should have by then, and get my schedule set. I can get more people on if people have ideas of people they want to talk about it. I did one with Alex Black a couple of years, last year, 2 years ago. I don't remember. On Husky on the anniversary of the landings. So maybe we can have him back doing something if he's not too busy. I know he's busy too. So yeah, so things like that. Maybe get the American perspective as well. British perspective, airborne, because I did that lecture on Husky at the Canadian Forces College at the beginning of January. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, because it's an important one. Canadian, first Canadian div fighting together, first time, first Canadian division thrown in the fight in the war. So it's a watershed moment in that way, and we don't look at it as much as that as I think. So maybe that's the framework, because everything that had come before it, obviously Hong Kong, Dieppe, and all the training and everything. I think it's a rich area. Yeah. So I think it's one I'm focusing on, and maybe I can do a theme week with it if I have the time. We'll see. It should be okay, but again, I can't speak to the future too much right now because I don't know myself. Hopefully things get a little clearer shortly. Yeah, this is really interesting. Actually, somebody just contacted me about stuff having to do with Cyprus. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I got some cool resources that I'm going to keep in my pocket and just leave a teaser there and see if I can do something with it shortly. There's a Facebook. You guys have a Facebook group? I've never heard of this. Facebook group about what? World War II TV? Group of awesome people? I don't think I'm in it. That's what I've heard. There's not much there. I don't know. It's because of the Sicilians' view on these things. It's the lack of overall interest in Sicily when it comes to Western countries. Sorry, like I mean North America when I said that. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard the same. And then the Pacino Canadian beaches is the same. There's just not much there. I'd love to go there though. I want to go to Sicily so bad, so bad, but I have no money, so I can't go. Stupid student debt. It's just so expensive to get to Sicily because it's not easy, right? Unless you're in Europe, which I am not. Yeah, so that's one I definitely want to do. But yeah, I got there's lots of footage of the landings because it wasn't like Normandy and was difficult. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's really cool. Yeah, a theme month is interesting. Was that Normandy? That was a month. I did that with Normandy last year. I think it went well. It was just like, I would just someone was like, "Can you do a day in June of all of Normandy?" And I think it worked pretty well. I think people liked it. Yeah, again, I gotta sit and think about this and plan this, and hopefully get some clarity on some things very shortly. Yeah, I had Alex on just talking very generally about Sicily, but yeah, I could get him on to do something specific if he's not too busy, because maybe after Janie it won't be so bad. But I'm sure this is going to be a big anniversary coming up for the Juno Beach Center, just because of everything. I think it's going to be. He might be busy, but July should be okay. I'll get in touch with him. Oh, yeah, we're going to go straight into the controversial stuff here now. Dresden. Oh, geez. Well, no matter what I say, I'm going to get in trouble. One thing I will say, and I don't think this is like the controversial part of it, nor should it be, is the casualty figures were exaggerated. Purposely. That's what happens when you have Nazis in charge of propaganda. Numbers are going to get inflated, things like that. Definitely awful, of course, for the people on the ground. Was it necessary? I don't know the nitty gritty of that particular campaign enough. Like I would say, like other bombings, right? That I know day by day, blow by blow. I don't know that one as well as I'd like to be able to say that. Especially Soviet sources. I am a complete newbie when it comes to Soviet stuff. Obviously, I don't speak Russian. Access is basically non-existent now. So I don't know. But I will say the numbers are exaggerated of the death totals. That I know for sure. Because this has been looked at. I was going to say some, cliche thing, but it's been looked at so much because it's so controversial, right? Because the supposed high death count, the destruction. Kurt Vonnegut's book obviously plays a huge role in this. He was on the ground when this happened. He gives an eyewitness account indirectly in his book, right, about this. That's the nonfiction part of that book. And it's completely awful, right? Fire bombings of cities is just awful. So, I mean, does it need to happen? I don't know for sure. I just know, and again, I'm not justifying it. I'm not on board with it. But this is what is close to the world, because I asked this a while back about total war I think the world has ever seen. And this is what happens. Firebombing of cities getting burnt to the ground, which of course was nothing new in the history of warfare. This time it came from the sky. That was new. Cities have been burned to the ground ever since we built cities, humanity. So it's what we do. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. It happened. It was awful. The bombing of Coventry was also awful. The bombing of Rotterdam was awful. The bombing of Berlin was awful. They're all awful for people on the ground. It's just what's necessary and what's not. It's too difficult for me to say with Dresden. It's so controversial and gets people so riled up. And I've been doing that enough lately. I've been pissing a lot of people off lately, so maybe I should take a break. Yeah. Facebook, what's that? Isn't that where people go play video games and give weird conspiracy theories? Not long. Not very long at all. That's supposed one of the reasons. It's not for the delay in the official declaration of war. Can't find anything directly claiming this, but because if Canada's not officially at war, the U.S. Neutrality Acts don't kick in necessarily. But again, they had to be there. The wording was very specific about being flown across the border. If they're pulled across the border, it's fine. As far as I know, it was limited. Makes a good story. It's cool. It's weird, but it's not a big part of it. Canada's aviation industry, because again, I've looked at this, did research on it, did writing on it for Project 44. Canada's aviation industry is tiny in 1939. It booms huge by the end of the war. It's massive in comparison. Like, it's not even close. So Canada's getting its own thing going and taking some time. Obviously with U.S. resources, right? These are U.S. companies and all that stuff. And the Americans slowly ease, those neutrality acts and things like that. So it was a short period of time. I don't know the exact timing, but it wasn't for very long, and it wasn't a huge number of aircraft. It makes a good story, though. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I've heard about the bunkers and obviously the stuff where the bombing the naval bombardment on the armored counterattack. Yeah, and that is one of the reasons why I want to go is the food. Every travel show I watch on Sicily is like, they have amazing food and the beaches and the weather. Unless it's really hot. Even that's fine by me. I don't mind the hot. But yeah, it's really cool. One of the places is definitely on my bucket list to go in Sicily generally. Like I said earlier, like Normandy is just great to go generally if you just like it. If you're looking for a cool travel place, if you're not even interested in the war history or even that particular war history, because Sicily's been fought over for millennia, literally. So much going on there, and it's so cool and a great locale. So it's something I definitely want to go do. Yeah, they they did shut down for a little bit just because of the season, obviously, and COVID and everything. So yeah, I think they were trying to lay low, and kind of hopefully that's not what people remember, because that's not the point of the JBC. But yeah, I'm sure they'll be ramping up. I know they're wanting to do like bunker tours and do it digitally, and I unfortunately couldn't go to one of those because it filled up, and I have the family issues with family member getting sick, so I missed those. But I know that's something they're working on, so they are trying to pump it back out again, so that's good. So it's gone. It's done. There's not going to be condos there now. I think they bought them out. I don't know exactly how, but the land will not have condos on it. I think they own it now. Somebody owns it. Who is it? The city? I can't say for sure. but it's not owned by that called condo developer anymore. It's not going to have condos on it, so that's good. So yeah, it's going to just be left as is, as far as I know. No, not really. Sort of. Sometimes later. Mostly British. Lancasters very late. All kinds of aircraft. A lot for the air training plan. A lot of them were built here, like Harvard's. Okay, so yes, there were. Like Harvard's, Yale's, those little guys that aren't so little. The ones that are used, those those yellow ones. Like I have that Harvard that I did that video on recently, the one in Kingston. They built those, and those are American designs. So yes, I guess the answer is yes. Yeah, so that's one I definitely want to see too, is the Roman ruins. That's so cool. And other ones, the Greek ruins too. I think there's still some. Right? Or did the Romans build on top of them? I don't know. Ruins all over the place. Norman ruins, North African. It's crazy. So much going on there. And Malta, yeah, it's another place I want to go to for the same reasons. For the the mix of cultures there, and I heard the food is good. Beaches look cool. Getting around sounded pretty easy. It's funky. I like funky places. I mean that in a good way. So, Malta is definitely on the list for that. Yeah, I was trying to come with you guys for that one, but I was going to go to an earlier one because I was again busy, and then things happened. But I couldn't get into that one because it was full. So that's good. It was full. That's good. That was good to see that it filled up. So, and I think that was because of you guys. So that's great. So thank you. I couldn't get in. The rest of them were filled up by the time I got back to it. So that's good that they were filled up because Alex wanted me to do it, look into it, and talk about it, but I just couldn't do it. Time is my enemy, right? Yeah, here we go. So this is directly. Yeah, so the King government ponied up the cash. He gave it to the city. They technically a city. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and they just donated it, just like the rest of the land that they have. NFBA, you want to go down that route? Do you want to go down that rabbit hole? Yeah, they have a role to educate the public. Yes. They did stuff. They don't let anybody access it. You can't use any of it. Should be public domain. It's not. They don't focus on it anymore because nobody does. This is what I was ranting about last time with the last AMA. It's lack of interest, lack of money. People thinking the story's been known. They give cash to other people, like the McKenna brothers, who I think we're an hour, 2 hours in. The heads are up their own ass when it comes to this stuff. Like that, they keep paying those two to make stuff. I don't know why. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Terrible. Yeah, so it's crazy. So it's just no interest in it. The NFB does a lot of nature docs and things like that. I don't think it's been on their radar in decades. CBC makes one every now and again, and they hire the McKennas to do it, and then it's just a pile of crap and pisses me off all new yet again. So yeah, it's just nobody wants to do it. There's no cash to do any of this stuff. Nobody wants to pony up the money to make it because everyone just doesn't care, or they don't want another Valor in the Horror, even though the CBC keeps paying those two to make them. It's a mess. It's a circle of stupidity and shit, basically. It's awful, and it pisses me off that these two get to have the biggest audience when it comes to this stuff. They have no idea what they're doing, and they just make stuff up and admit it, and nobody cares, and it drives me nuts. And NFB has no interest in any of this stuff. It's not going to happen. The government has very little interest in doing any of this stuff. The JBC thing was very shocking to me, to be completely honest. It was surprising that they ponied up the cash. I didn't think they would. They barely ponied up the cash for like banners in town here in Ottawa. Like that's all we can get. It is what it is. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, you'd have to know service records and time and things like that to know that for sure. But yeah, they were definitely there. Yeah, that unit was there for sure. Yeah, there are tons of material. That's why at the beginning there, sorry, like they have tons of stuff. Most of it is accessible on their website. You can't do anything with it because they'll copyright flag you. You'll be in violation of the copyright. They're funded by the government. They have all these resources that they won't let you use, and it just sits there doing nothing. They have such good stuff that I could do so much, like someone like me, he could do a ton with, and I can't do it. I have piddly things from the Library and Archives Canada, who does nothing with this. I have to go to American sources to get stuff. It's so bad, and it shouldn't be that way. And it drives me crazy, but nobody listens. So what are we going to do, right? It's only going to get worse. They've pushed back public domain, and it's just going to get worse, and there's going to be less and less, and it's just going to be the same tiger tanks over and over and over again. And that's all it's ever going to be. Yeah, it drives me crazy. Yeah, it's not that it was bad. It's just it's old. And they did it in the 60s, so it was the people involved, and that comes with its own set of assumptions, biases, you know what I mean, right? People involved have reputations to protect and their own view of things and think they know other stuff that they don't. And we have more documentation now. And you know what I mean? It's the whole history cycle kind of thing. It's just different. And again, it's the access to this stuff. It's a pain, and it should be better. But what can you do, right? Yeah, he did. I will give him credit for that. He's done some things I don't agree with. But this is one of the things he did go to bat for, and he picked up and listened. I think that letter that I signed, I'm not saying I'm responsible for anything, I think might have done something. I think that letter to the Prime Minister may have ruffled a few feathers and said, hey, pay attention. So that's good, because this is not okay in that sense. I mean, I've said it before because I talked about this last spring, talking about all of this. And it's not that the Normans or the French should not get to build on their own country. It's not necessarily that. It's just, it's this mindset. It's something else. It's money, and it's, closed purse strings in this country particularly. Just pay them out and move on with our lives. We're not going to nickel and dime this. Just pay them out. Pay twice what it's worth. Who cares? This is important. If you want, it's all about money. It's always about money, and it drives me bananas. And the things we could have been doing, and we just don't do it because we don't want to spend any money. Yeah, the CBC stuff is amazing. Like those radio broadcasts, my God. I don't know if Scott's still watching, but Scott's bringing them up all the time, and I can't do anything with them. I can't get them easily. And they get copyright striked on YouTube. And I don't want to get in any legal trouble putting it other places. So I can't do anything with it unless it's on like Internet Archive, and that's cleared that way through public domain. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. Question about LAC. Are researchers permitted to scan unpublished photos from the archive? The answer is yes. The short answer is is yes. Can you do anything with them? No. You can use them for personal research only. Personal research. Which way am I going here? Personal research only. Stupid mirroring camera. That's it. What does that mean? I don't know. That means nothing. I can look at them. Whoop-de-doo. You can't do anything with them. Can't publish them because they'll give you crap. And then you have to pay if you want to publish them. And they charge so much, and they take forever to do it. And it's awful. They should have high-risk scanners, which I know they do because I've used them, available to use at any time. The photo archive part is a nightmare to use because I've been doing it for the last 3 months, and I want to rip my hair out, and I go crazy, and they look at you like you're a criminal if you don't hold something right or you ask questions. It's just, it drives me nuts. But yeah, you can't really do anything with it. You can take your own photos. You can use a scanner. They've got what they call a DigiLab, where they have access to those scanners that they use. You have to book an appointment, and then even then you got to sign something, and you can only use it in a certain way. Like Project 44 has done a good job with that. but it's a ton of work, and the work you're doing, LAC's work for them, and they should be just paying students to do this stuff all day long, but they don't, because nobody has any cash ever again. This is the same Canadian story over and over again. Nobody wants to pay for anything. We just sit here and do nothing with it, and it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, you can get access to them, no problem. I mean, it takes a little bit longer than the textual documents to get. We can't do anything with them. Look at them. I mean, they're public domains. You can use your own photos if you take good ones. I mean, good luck, because these files are terrible. Like, I was literally going through one. It was a book that was like this thick, and you couldn't bend the photo flat to get a good photo. So what do you do with that? It looks like garbage. So you can't do anything with it. And they scan photos like a slowly moving dead tortoise or something. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And yes, you are a bad man, Scott. You're a bad influence on me. The motorcycle one was pretty cool, and that guy didn't get copyright strikes. That was pretty fun. I don't know. As soon as I saw that clip of those guys driving up a basically 90-degree cliff of sand on a motorcycle, it just reminded me of the show Jackass. I'm surprised. It's like nobody cared. Just go straight up a cliff on a motorcycle. It'll be fine. Those guys almost get crushed by the bike, and the guy comes running like he's going to help him. Like, what was that about? Thanks for that, Scott. That was awesome. Oh God, I was dying watching that thing. I was like, oh, it'll be cool, but I don't know if it'll be interesting. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to get. Oh my God, he's going to die. That's crazy, man. I mean, CBC, I have mixed opinions on that organization, but these things should just be open and collected because they're government, and it should be under the same copyright. But again, I think everything should be available, but that's me, obviously, as the historian. Yes, you can use the images off the web because they're public domain. Yes, you can do that. But the high-res ones aren't accessible. They cost so much, hundreds of dollars to sometimes get them, depending on what it is. And timeline, good luck. It'll take you... I don't know. Who knows how long to get the damn thing? I don't know how far behind they are. They're behind on everything else. So what's the difference? Yeah, they're just as bad. So these other ones, the Getty and Olme or whatever, they're terrible. And yeah, I mean, I have my own issue with that company charging for photos they don't own. And they just take them the same exact ones and then charge for them. I'm like, what is that? People pay it. I don't know why. They don't need to. They don't own these photos, and people pay them for high res. Some of them aren't high res. I know because I've seen them. Yeah. I can get that for you if you want. If you know the reference, let me know. I can go get it. Might not be the best. I don't know, depending on what you want to do with it. If you just want it for personal use, I can get it for you, no problem. If you just want to look at it, I can get you something. Might not be the best, but it's better than nothing. And I'll just send it to you. I'm there all the time. I work for clients all the time, so I don't mind. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to do a few more minutes. We're almost at 2 hours. Everyone's sticking with me. Thank you very much. Making my Sunday afternoon far more interesting than doing work, what I was planning on doing, so this is more fun. As I like to say, hanging out is always fun. And I miss doing this more often, so that's why I'm going to start to do it. Yeah, I think GD's right. I should schedule a time so people can come and hang out. Yeah, it's fun. Get to talk to like-minded people and topics that most people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. So it's nice. It's nice not to be looked at like I'm an alien with 3 heads when I talk about this stuff. So it's nice to have you guys, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, so if you want, you can support the channel through YouTube, Patreon. I forgot to do my shout out here for all my new people. Let that run because there's more of you guys, which is amazing. Anyway, yeah, that's what I want to try and save up some of that money for the Husky documentary, I guess I can call it. What that can look like, I mean, just literally my own time, right? Because my own time of sitting at this computer that I'm on right now and writing scripts and getting the resource, like the sources, like photos and videos. That there are stuff, I just got to put it together and take time to organize it. It just takes time. So I'm trying to see if I can bank up some money for that to pay the bills, so I can do that and focus on it, because I'm working contracts right now that most of them will be done by then. and there's no renewal for those. So I don't know, right? That's why my uncertainty is out there. So that helps an immense amount. If you can help, if you can. Again, the super chats have been amazing. Thank you so much for those that have done that today. Every time I get one of those, I'm so grateful because I see these other YouTubers get them and they get like hundreds of dollars per live stream. It's not what I'm asking for. It's just I see that and I'm just like, this is amazing that I get to have that in the smallest amount. I mean, a few cents and I get excited just because it's not even the money necessarily. It's just that people care. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional again. That's just, I guess, how I am. As Philip likes to say, he likes my emotion. Got to give the people what they want. Just because people care, like, because I've just, like I said, the alien Andres is the same thing. Like, you're looking at it, you're like, you're nuts. Or they say they care around Novembrance Day and then they never talk about it again or don't give a crap the rest of the year. And it's just having any sort of support like that, consistent support or tangible support, you know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Like I'm not holding like pennies and like, you know what I mean? Like that means the world to me. And to do this, even in the small way that I do it, it means so much to me. And seeing that, I'm really appreciative and I feel, lucky that I have such support from a growing group of people, and you guys are awesome. And sorry, I'm trying to get emotional again, but it makes me emotional just because this is what I do. This is my life. This is my career. People ask me, what do you do with your day job? Well, my day job is history as well. So it's amazing to get to do this. So thanks again for listening to my ramblings. Any more questions? Can maybe do one or two more. But yes, procrastination is the best, especially when it's the weekend. I feel like I can take a couple hours off. I feel guilty because I have to work so much, but I'll work a little bit, and I owe Scott some stuff. No, sorry, Chris, not Scott. I don't owe anything, Scott, do I? Don't think so. I responded to your last email. Yes. And I owe Dave stuff. I got to get the archive, though, because I ordered the wrong box like an idiot. As soon as I opened it, I went, something's wrong here. That was way off. Not the first time. Nothing in there, unfortunately. But yeah, finding that HQ layout, if it does exist, will be awesome for Nijmegen, or just in general. I am excited about that trip. I'll share as much as I can because there's going to be just lots going on. But yeah, it should be cool. So I am looking forward to that from the earlier question. Yeah, that's true. Well, you just did, so that ruined it. Thanks, Nicholas. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it gets talked about enough. It gets talked about so much, and I don't know the point anymore, to be honest. I'm not trying to drive a controversial audience in that way. People have their opinion. Most of it doesn't match the facts. Yeah, I mean, it is. The arrow is with the arrow. I mean, it gets people worked up. I was going to email you. Don Cherry reference. Sorry, I'm just reading. Yes, thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. And your support as a member is amazing. And you too, Dave. Thank you. Thank you, Lorelei. Yeah, it's great to hang out on the lazy-ish Sunday. Did a little bit of work before, but to hang out. I don't know. I rage about Don Cherry a lot. Was that him making crap up about Vimy? Probably. Yeah, probably. He does that. Well, he's not on TV anymore. Goodness, luckily. And then whatever, he has his opinions, but he's just wrong about the military history part of it, which just drives me bonkers. Like, it's there. Why are you wrong? Just Google it, old man. It's not that hard. Yeah, we can, Dave, if you want to do it, I'm on board. I'm looking at not a SIM card. Maybe I'll just do a SIM card, but something that we can do it. Or we can do it in somewhere. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I was looking at getting one of those SIM cards. There's other tech that they have now. You just pay like a flat rate or something, and you get access. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so it's Yeah, I haven't looked at that one as deep as some of the other ones, like other newsreels and things like that. But it's something I've considered and things like that. Yeah, it's unfortunate. They just have so much stuff, right? And some of that's really good, and you can't access it. You can't do anything with it. You can look at it, and that's it. What good does that do anybody? Ugh, I'm not watching that. I'm not listening to that. An old man yells at cloud energy the whole time. No, thank you. Yeah, well, that's a North American thing too, but I don't think those Wi-Fi's are going to reach the battlefields. Nobody wants to see us at a hotel. That's boring. I get bored. I don't know. We'll see. You guys got better coverage than we do here, so we'll see. I'll figure something out. Anyway, so thank you everyone for hanging out and making my Sunday afternoon more interesting and listening to some of my ramblings and ravings and all of that stuff. Thank you for everyone again for the support. It means the world to me. Next live stream, like I said at the beginning, just a quick reminder, is Tuesday. Okay, cool. Tuesday. So Tuesday at noon, unfortunately. It was the best schedule for both of us. So again, I'm having their finest hour, the representatives of that project out of Oxford from the UK coming on to talk about the project, which is launching. So that'll be interesting. And if you've got stuff for them, they'll explain the whole thing. And I just want to help them get that message out there. And so that'll be cool. And a chance to talk a little bit more broadly about Second World War and what someone else is doing to help preserve stuff, which again is core of my mission. So thanks again, everyone, and for your support, super chats, and the channel members and the patrons and everyone who's done anything to support me. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday or afterwards when it goes after we're done live. And I will keep very much in mind about getting a schedule for this kind of thing so we can hang out more often. So again, thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Sundays.